share my screen. Make it full screen. Yeah. Do you see my screen?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So as you see, the topic is AI in drug development. It's a 1-hour webinar which I thought of doing. I was having some time, and I made this presentation in a couple of conferences which I got good feedback on. So I thought, why not share it with my community here. What I will do here is I will share the challenges that we have in drug development, and we know what are the challenges, and we will explore whether AI can help, particularly in the challenges that we have in drug development. I will also share what the regulators are thinking, and then I will share a 3P framework which I came up with when I was going over all of these AI use cases, which you can use as a mental model, so to speak, when you are thinking about how AI can be used in drug development. I will share quite a few use cases. I don't work for any of these companies, so a disclaimer, so I don't represent, but I just found them online, which I found to be very interesting and gives concrete examples of how AI is getting used today and not something in the future. I will also share the challenges that we have with AI. It's not always hunky-dory, so there are definite challenges about AI and the governance that we have to put in place, and finally how we can execute it in our own companies and organizations. So there's a lot to cover. Planned it for 1 hour. I don't have a, I can go over a few minutes, but and happy if you are also there, but feel free to drop out if you have any obligation at the end of the hour. Okay, the first one is the challenges. So we know that we are in a really difficult industry where the probability of success is less than 10%. We spend a huge amount of money, almost $2 to $3 billion for bringing a new product in the market. And the success rate has not really changed in the last 30 years, in spite of all the advances in science, in spite of all the increase in investment that has happened, in spite of all the technological advances that has happened. So this is something really quite astonishing when we look at this compared to any other industry, whether it's telecom industry or auto industry or hospitality industry. This rate of failure is almost unprecedented over such a long time. And what's even more amazing is that it doesn't really matter the amount of money you put in and you invest. The numbers don't change, the success rate don't change. So what I have seen is that basically the programs fail for 4 main reasons. There are safety failures. We have seen that drugs, even if they have a significant p-value, but because of safety reasons, they don't get regulatory approval. And I myself have experienced that. Fred, at 𝗪𝗪𝑚orphosis, right? What happened? So even if a drug is efficacious, for safety reasons it fails. Efficacy. Now efficacy, you might think, okay, if a drug doesn't work, it doesn't work. But think about all those successful phase 2 studies which were not successful in phase 3. And I'm sure all of us have experienced that. And when a drug is not successful in phase 3, it has already come through preclinical, phase 1, phase 2. So a lot of data has come, but even then our studies fail in phase 3. And a phase 3 study costs about at least 200 to 300 million, sometimes even more. Many years, a lot of resources go both in terms of money as well as human resources. Scientists and professionals spend years after a phase 3 study, and then if it's a failure, it's a huge loss for the industry as a whole. I worked at 𝗗𝗃𝗃, and Philip, the challenges we faced with manufacturing. Sometimes we don't remember, but manufacturing is also another reason why our programs are not successful, especially in complex manufacturing like cell therapy or gene therapy and things like that. And then strategic failures. We develop a drug, we get marketing approval, but then commercially they are not successful, or we are not targeting the right population at the right time. So these are the different kinds of failures we see across drug development. And the big question is, can AI change this, impact this? That's what we will see today in today's presentation. So why is AI becoming such a buzzword that all of you are taking time out on a Friday afternoon to listen to this? Why is it so important today as we speak compared to a couple of years ago even? I think because of 5 reasons. Number one, we have an explosion of data, not only clinical data, but electronic health records, genomic data, digital health records that patients are wearing now, like electronic watches and things like that. Computation has become very cheap. Then the models that the AI models that are becoming more and more complex and more refined and more powerful. The workflows are becoming more and more digital from end to end, right from the protocol to the EDC to the Viva RIMS, the regulatory information system that we have. And Chris, you work in IT, so you know how digitization is really becoming more and more important, correct? And finally, there is regulatory approval and acceptance of all of these new technologies. So all of these 5 things are basically making AI extrememely important and almost unavoidable in the current scenario. And AI is actually getting deployed across the development life cycle, right from target validation and discovery to lead generation to lead optimization of candidate and finally clinical development. In fact, I would say that Ching has joined. In fact, I would say that the main activity that's happening with AI is in drug discovery. And here I would like to remind you about the 2024 Nobel Prize was actually given to because of the AI work that happened in predicting protein structures using AlphaFold model, right? And the main, I think, the success that's happening in this field is in drug discovery. And what is drug discovery? Drug discovery is actually 3 things, right? First, you have to understand the mechanism and the target, and AI can be used to understand that. Secondly, you have to build molecules or proteins and therapies which can target or which can interact with that target. And third, you have to understand whether that molecule or that therapy is safe and can be scaled up and can be absorbed and metabolized by the patient, either in animals and then in human beings. And all of this can be done using AI, and it's getting done. And actually in the next slide, I have all the 43, this is from 2025. So these are all the 43 clinical trials that are happening across different phases, phase 1 to phase 3, using drugs that have been designed using AI models. So this is, and I can share the slide so you can take a look, and I have all the links. So these are all the AI used drugs which are today running on clinical trials across indications. You can see it is from oncology, it is from immunology, it is from, I think, yeah, across different indications, across different phases. So as we speak, AI-driven drugs are not a matter of something of the future, but it's happening even as we speak now throughout different indications. Even so, this was about the drug discovery, and now let me give an example of how AI is getting used also for designing studies. So this is one example I found out where one of the top pharma companies used AI to find out the right subgroup which would benefit from the study. So they applied their model, AI model, retrospectively on a phase 3 study, right? So they imagine, okay, if they could apply these AI models and define the right patient population, what would have happened? And they found out that they could only target the subgroup that would benefit, and that would reduce the timeline by about 15 months and would increase the success probability by 2.8 times. Of course, this is retrospective application, and it remains to be seen how this can be applied in the future. But definitely AI will be used more and more in designing studies and finding the right subgroup. And I will talk a little bit more about a few more use cases where such things are getting implemented. But the point I'm trying to make is that AI is already getting used across the spectrum, right from drug discovery to designing studies, even today as we speak. We know that we are in a very regulated environment. So if you really want to start about understanding how AI is getting used, I will ask you to read these two guidance documents that have come out, one from FDA and one from EMA, that would give you a very clear understanding how the regulators are thinking about using AI and how AI can be used and should be used in the industry. They also present a very nice governance structure. And Ariana, you're from quality. I will ask you, for you, I think it will be especially helpful because you have to, at the end of the day, coming from quality, make sure that these guidance documents are adhered to and we are compliant with what they are saying. So basically, this is the big picture, what they're saying, that how you use AI is context driven. And they have very nicely and elegantly decomposed AI risk into two aspects. One is the model influence. So whether what comes out of your AI, whether it will have a high influence on what you're doing, or it will have a low influence. And I'll give you some examples. For example, if you're doing a low influence, that means you not only are completely dependent on AI, but you have human in the loop, and AI is just providing one aspect of the decision-making process. But it is not the only thing that is enabling you to take decisions. So in that case, it is a low influence. But if you're completely depending on your AI algorithm to decide for you, that means it has a high influence. And then what is the decision consequence? Is it something that has a high risk, or is it a low risk? For example, if you're using AI to get the first draft of your protocol, right? So to write a medical document, then that has a low consequence or a low risk for the patients because you can improve upon it. But suppose you are using AI to basically categorize patients, stratify patients, or to decide which patients should get the treatment, which patients should be monitored. That has a high risk aspect to it. And that should be taken into account when you are defining your AI governance. So basically, you have to ask yourself two questions when you are deciding upon how your AI governance should be. Number one, how much you can trust your AI model. That means, are you completely dependent on the AI model, or you have other things to take into account as well? And the second is, what happens if your AI model decisions are wrong? Will it have a high impact for the patients, or will it be something more administrative in nature? So these are the two things which would define how you should frame your AI governance. Maybe I can pause here for a couple of minutes and see if you have any questions or comments at this stage based on what I've shared so far.
𝗵𝗂𝘃, I assume that when you talk about AI models here in support of discovery, development, clinical trial design, patient selection, and all of that, those would be sort of customized models that companies develop, right? We're not talking like the plain vanilla chatbots or agents that we all use.
No, they are customized, exactly. And they are paid. And there are a lot of, I will show you, there are a lot of AI companies which are coming up. For example, Medidata. So Medidata has a huge volume of clinical, they have run a lot of clinical trials. So they have a lot of patient level data on their system. And now they are developing models using that data. So for example, you're designing a trial. You can say, okay, I'm trying to design a trial for breast cancer. This is the patient. Can you help me? I will show you an example. They will help you to design your protocol based on the data that they have from historical studies.
Yeah, 𝗵𝗂𝘃, just to add, the UK MHRA have issued some interesting guidance as well. I'll share the link, and that's got other links in it for you.
Right. Yeah, that would be helpful, Jan.
𝗵𝗂𝘃, just one little comment. Here we are focusing our risk on, let's say, on our job. There is another level of risk, according to me, that is based on on the worker, on the employee. I like to say to my junior statistician that they work with their own mind without using AI, because once they learn how to be good statistician, then AI is a powerful tool for multiplying their experience that they had so far and adding experience, but we need a solid basis. So there is a risk, according to me, using AI that is linked to ourselves, not to our job. But just
so when I was, good point, Andrea. So when I was researching for this presentation, I was also thinking about, okay, what are the skill sets we need for the future to be able to really be skilled users of AI in this new world where AI will dominate. So maybe I will do another presentation or webinar in the future where I will discuss the skill set needed for the future to really effectively use AI.
Yeah, I agree, because this is what we experience here, and also my husband in the same field, is that if you don't have the expertise, you cannot judge the level of hallucination of AI also. So you have to be careful, So it's good that at Valos, statisticians start using their brain first.
Thanks.
And I just wanted to add quickly, in fact, in terms of skill set, also perhaps the difficulty today of really understanding what is needed and what to develop, maybe because there is a lot of hype on AI, but I wonder actually how many organizations are so advanced in using AI. I mean, maybe I can imagine a few big ones, but I wonder the smaller ones, how can they actually advance and use AI? Because
we will talk about that, Ariana. I have that part, how to execute AI in your organizations. Okay, let me go forward. So this was a very interesting document that came out earlier this year. This is based out of, we are used to GCP, Good Clinical Practice. This is guiding principle for good AI practice. And this was jointly brought out by FDA and EMA together. And it has 12 points in this good AI practice, and I think they just come under 4 main categories. One, you absolutely have to have human accountability, because AI is not the ultimate decision maker, but it's us. Secondly, the context of use, which I just mentioned in my previous slide. Third is traceability and robustness. Now, the reason statistics have been, I'm a statistician and many of you have interacted with statisticians. So why statistics have been so significant in this industry is because in statistics, every field, every model that we run, every analysis that we do can be explained step by step. So if I run an statistical analysis, and I share my statistical analysis plan with the regulators or with another person, they can run exactly the same thing and will get identical results. So this traceability and robustness was extremely important in the earlier framework of clinical trials. Now with AI, we know that we have different AI models. For example, you have used ChatGPT and you have used Claude or Gemini, and you can ask the same question, you will get different answers. Even sometimes within ChatGPT, you ask the same question 3 times, you get 3 kinds of answers. So this is one challenge with AI, that it's not identical. So in our industry, it's very important to have this traceability and robustness. And finally, you have to continuously upgrade and govern AI. AI is like, sometimes I say it's like our therapies, where you have to have pharmacovigilance even after approval to monitor how safety signals are coming or not. In the same way, AI models gets upgraded over time, and bias can come in, so you have to constantly follow it up even after you deploy it. Now this is, if there's one thing I would like you to leave with in today's webinar, it is this. So whenever you're looking at future use of AI, it's happening, either one of the 3 things is happening. Either you are using AI to make a prediction, or you are using AI to do a personalization, or you are using AI to improve productivity. It's either one of these 3. And I'll show you specific examples of each one of these. The first one is prediction. I already shared example about how this AI is getting used to discover target and do molecule optimization. But more interestingly, AI is also getting used to make adverse events prediction and also efficacy prediction. And if you can do this, you can actually do adaptive enrichment in your studies, because then you can predict which particular subgroup will benefit. So you can adapt your clinical trials on the go using AI tools, and it will become quite important. Let me share two examples. One is this that came out earlier last year, where AI model was used to predict brain tumor progression. So this was based on 177 patients using around 900 images. So they took the baseline and the first month scan to predict whether the patient will be in complete response in 12 months in the future. And they had a 90% area under the curve accuracy with this. I can, again, the paper link is below. So think about it. You can use actually your first scan to predict whether a patient will be a responder 12 months in the future. And if this becomes really robust and acceptable, it can become very powerful, say in terms of doing interim analysis, because often we have to wait for a long time for the data to come in. But if this things becomes more commonplace, then this I can see a very powerful use of AI in the future to design our studies and have early data coming in, at least for internal decision making, if not for regulatory submission. The second one is I was in Barcelona in April last year in a conference, and these folks from AstraZeneca presented how they're using omics data. And omics is basically four things. It's genomics, it's transcriptomics, proteomics, and metabolomics, where they're using all of this high resolution data to predict safety events. Again, you're not waiting for the events to come up, but you can, based on the patient's characteristics, you can make prediction of what can happen and predict whether a drug will be safe or not. And again, as I said, many of our drugs fail because of the safety profile, but here AI can really help in predicting safety and finding out earlier whether the prediction will be safe, and AstraZeneca is already using this today. The second one is about study design, right? One of the huge cost drivers of running clinical trials is enrollment, and also one of the biggest factors of failure. Those of you who have been involved in execution of clinical trials, you know how long sometimes it takes to enroll the patients, going to the right sites, and then doing amendments, which we have to do sometimes 8-9 time amendments, and all of these costs drives and timelines by a lot. And AI can actually be used to forecast which sites should we go to, and what are the strategy we can do to increase our enrollment. And this is one website I came up, or one company called 𝗏𝗏𝗃, who is doing all of these activities and helping companies as we speak. So all of the use cases I'm sharing are things that's already happening today. Okay, so these are not something about ideas in the future, and you can go on their websites and check what they're doing and which companies they're partnering with for driving all of these things. Before I go to the next P, any question?
𝗪𝗏,
Yes.
This is for oncology only?
No, this is for it can be for any study, right? Because it is about it is about finding the right patient. It depends on the company, which what kind of data set they have, right? If they have data set only on oncology, then definitely it will be more focused on oncology, but it can be other indications as well. But this is, yeah, I think for this particular company, it is real world oncology data sets. So yeah, so you're right. So this particular company is doing, but because I think they have the oncology data sets, right? If there's another company now with other rare disease data sets, then that can be used as well. The next is about personalization. Now, all of us have been on Amazon or on YouTube, and we see one of the magical things about the entertainment or this online shopping is how personalized suggestions come on our feed and on our list, right? I think that's one of the biggest, what should I say, impact of machine learning that has happened. Now think if we can do the same thing in drug development using AI and machine learning, where we can really find out which biomarkers will be impacting the patients, right? So, for the last, I don't know, 40, 50 years, we have been treating diseases. We say that this treatment treats cancer, breast cancer, or non-small cell lung cancer, or any other disease. But I think the paradigm should shift to we should treat patients and not diseases, and each patient is different, right? And I think AI can play a big role, and I will again share a couple of real use cases where AI is getting used for personalization. I think the most interesting of this is digital twins. So I don't know how many of you have heard the word digital twin or not heard? So digital, okay, you have, okay. So digital twin is like you take all the patient's, all the baseline characteristics and all the historical data of that patient, and then using an AI model, which is trained out of thousands of patients' data, and they will take up the patients who have been similar characteristics, and it will predict what can be a possible outcome for this patient. It is like having a personalized weather forecast for the patient, whether this patient will respond or not, right? So this is, and you see this is a publication which came out in Nature about how digital twins can be used to enhance randomized clinical trials. And this is basically the power of AI, because it is now using all kinds of data from the patient, multimodal data, to make a prediction for that patient about how this patient would respond to a particular treatment. So this is like a digital twin of that patient that will happen. And this is again not science fiction, it's already happening. You see this is a study that has happened together with I think AbbVie, where they did it with this company called 𝗪𝗏, where they used digital twin to design a phase 2 study using a technology called 𝗗𝗏𝗃𝗀, which has been approved, or which has been which has got the blessings of EMA, so to speak. So this is something that's again happening and making real impact on sample size calculation, on study design, where you can use digital twin. Of course, these are early days, but I think if there's one thing that can happen and that can be quite transformational, it will be this technology of digital twins. There's a lot to do still, but I think this will only become more important. And the next P, the last P, is productivity. I think this is the P that we always think of when we think of AI. And as Andrea said, okay, will AI take our jobs? Will AI take our productivity? So you see the first two P that I spoke about, prediction and personalization, had nothing to do with us losing job. In fact, it would mean that more people would be needed who can build up, who can understand, who can make use of them, who can build up the right governance structure. But this P will make our lives easier, in the sense that it will compress lifetimes, compress timelines for the work that we do. And these are some of the use cases where I think AI can help a lot in productivity. The most, what I would say, the lowest hanging fruit is medical writing, because we spend a lot of time in writing all these documents, starting from our protocols to clinical study report. And we have seen that how our ChatGPT and Claude can write, and how powerful they are, the large language models. And I think this is one of the most easiest thing, and many companies have already started doing this. But not only authoring documents, but also site feasibility. We spend enormous amount of time in doing site feasibility, human time, right? And I think AI can definitely help with that, and also doing risk-based quality monitoring where AI can help. So there are a lot of different things where AI can improve the productivity, but for all of this thing, you still need a human in the loop. It's not that AI will replace them, but AI can significantly increase the efficiency factor about all of this. Now, a couple of examples. The first one was very sensational. It's about Novo Nordisk, which said that it could reduce the time to write a CSR from 12 weeks to 10 minutes. Of course, it's a sensational headline. You can't write a CSR in 10 minutes, but at least you can get a good first draft. I think that's the main story. So you see, and this is a report that came out already in 2024. And since then, I've attended a few conferences, and many companies are actually quite advanced in implementing AI for authoring these documents. The second one, as I was saying, was Medidata, and Medidata has their tool for designing and planning clinical trials. Okay, what are the things? How should you define your eligibility criteria? How eligibility criteria will impact on your enrollment rate? Then how do you plan your schedule of visits so that it is optimized, and you have a balance between the data that you want to collect and the burden on the patients, so that they don't drop off because the study becomes too cumbersome for them. So all of these can be actually planned and optimized using different AI tools, and this is one of them that I shared, because all of you have heard of Medidata, and Medidata is quite advanced in building these tools and helping. It's already helping a lot of their clients with these things. So far you see I spoke about 3 P's: prediction, personalization, productivity. And if you see, drug development has 5 aspects. It's the planning part, when you plan and conceptualize a study design. Then you have the startup phase. Then you have the conduct. You conduct the study. Then you do a closeout. And finally, you do a submission. So these are the 5 stages of drug development from the beginning to the end. And you see in this slide, I have given examples of each of the 3 things that you can do across the life cycle. Now, what I want with this slide is that when you are thinking where I can apply AI in my company, in my organization, you have to be strategic about it. You can't apply AI in everything. So you have to understand, okay, where is my biggest pain point, or what is it that I want to do? Is it something that I want to do in the planning phase or in the startup phase? And then which one should I want to achieve? Should I want to improve my prediction or personalization? And then you go in. So this is a slide which I created, a matrix, so to speak, to help you to develop a strategic mindset and a strategic approach in how to use AI in implementing in your particular situation. Because otherwise AI is a very big word, and you see so much is happening, and you will get lost in how to use this. So this will help you in building and bringing focus to what you want to do. So before I move on to the risks that are involved and how do we address them, any questions so far? I think I enjoyed the last round of discussion, so maybe we can spend a few minutes in discussing the last few slides.
Hi, 𝗵𝗃. So I have a question. So
Yes.
looking at the first 2 P's that you mentioned, which is like where there's no data as such involved from the sponsor, but when we talk about productivity optimization, so how do, like, because if you see the big companies, they have a lot of data, and they might have models trained on their data, and they have some kind of firewall. So how do new small biotech or pharma can make use of it without, like, who have limited data and they have to use, like, for example, the ADAMS, TLFs, or the CSR, where the data integrity will stay. I mean, it won't be used by the model or something like that.
No, I think that is why, for example, if you go to Medidata, the example that I have here, right? If you're a small biotech, you can reach out to Medidata, and Medidata has on their system, they have these thousands of studies on there which they have run, for which they have built EDC. So they can then, you say, okay, I want to design a study, say in non-small cell lung cancer, and this is my patient population, this is my eligibility criteria. Now can you design and optimize my protocol design with them based on your AI models, and then they can do you. So you don't have to have in-house data to be able to use AI models. So there are vendors who will have this data and they can help you with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is there any stage where like the data that the sponsor has will or can be used for training the model?
No, not data. For example, suppose you are trying to use digital twins, right? So when you are trying to do digital twins, of course, then you need to have where is the digital twin? Here. So for here, you need to have both. You need to have the historical data from the vendor or from the AI model, and you also provide your patient data for whom you want to do the digital twin, right? But they can use the historical because they will give you a prediction. They are not sharing the data, the individual data with you, correct? So now for big companies, it's easy because they already have a lot of data in-house for which they can use to train the model and have much more rigorous and robust prediction. That is the advantage of having this large in-house data. But you can still, as a biotech, without having access to large data, you can still use them if you reach out to the right vendor who can build the right models.
Thank you.
𝗵𝗫, did you ever seen a kind of range that you need as a volume of data before your AI model will give the right result? So, because indeed, like small companies, they can do some AI stuff, but if you don't have enough data, it will fail. But I was just wondering, are there some ranges defined or trends that you can say we need at least so much data before it will be successful? Or maybe it's a difficult question. But
it's a difficult question, Chris, because volume is one aspect, but it's also how clean, how unbiased the data. The quality of the data is also important. You can have a very large data. For example, you have a large data from China, hundreds of thousands of data, but you want to use that to predict something in US or Europe. That might not, because the Chinese population might be biologically different from the Western population, right? So both. But as I said, right, the company who will be using AI, it's not necessary for them to have in-house large depository. There are already vendors who will have this, who has this data, and they can provide you the solutions. For example, Medidata is one example I shared. Then this precision concert AI. So they already have a large volume of real-world oncology data sets with them. So you have to approach them and tell, okay, this is what I want, and then they can tell you how they can help you with these aspects. So you don't have to provide a data set to them. Now, how accurate they are, of course, then you have to check. It's like you are doing due diligence, right? What has been their historical track record, how successful they have been, which companies did they work for. So you can ask them, okay, can you share some of your use cases with us? And then you have to take a decision.
Also still wondering there whether those companies are allowed to use all the data they have from other clients, but maybe that's another
it's a good point.
Yeah. Yes, Jan.
Yeah, I mean, there are companies, there is an availability. I think we used one, and I'm going to disclose the name of it. It was 𝗵𝗫 and 𝗑𝗿, where people could make requests to particular companies to get data sets, and then they would transform the data and they'd normalize it. So you could make many requests to multiple companies to get your own normalized data sets to train your own models on.
Yeah. Beckley, you have a question?
Yes, 𝗵𝗫. Just out of curiosity, I was wondering how the AI-generated reports, for things like clinical reports or other critical studies, how do regulators view this? Because, of course, I know there's a whole bunch of description of documents describing that, but just from a high level, how do they view that? Because you mentioned the Novo Nordisk example of generating a report in 10 minutes. It sounds very scary, but how do regulators view this?
No, if you
it's 10 minutes to write, but they don't tell you how many hours they spend reviewing it.
Exactly.
Okay.
So you see the first point on what the regulators that there should be human accountability. So it's not that you just produce a report from AI and then you submit it, right? So AI can produce you something, and then there should be a human in the loop to make the right decision.
Okay, and the human is accountable for the content.
Exactly.
Yeah, that clarifies. And then another clarifying question. So you mentioned the digital twin, which I think is an interesting application of AI, which I like. In the past, I worked on digital twin, but more on mechanistic. So for predicting process performance. I'm wondering if you would use AI. For me, it's still stochastic, right? It takes data, it tries to understand the data and make some prediction. Does it help you in any way to understand your process? Coming from a mechanistic modeling point of view, I don't know if that helps in any way. Understand.
So as I said, it's still early days, right? The concept is there and the ability is there now to use these huge volumes of multimodal data to make these predictions. How much it will gain to your efficiency and how much impact it will have, time will say. But for example, in this particular publication, we see that they used a digital twin to calculate sample size, and it brought a 10% reduction. Now, in Galapagos, I know sometimes we have designed studies where each patient was a couple of $100,000 or euros. So if you can reduce 10%, that's a significant amount that you are saving, right? Even with the current technology. So we will see how this develops.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So let's move on. So the next part is, okay, we have spoken about all the fantastic promises of AI and how AI is already getting used, but we all know and understand that there are risks involved. So what are the risks that are involved with AI? So I identified 5 main risks. The first one is hallucination. I think we have all seen how we have asked questions to AI and it gave answers which were not correct. So that's the first risk. Second, bias. So all AI is developed on, sure, Beckley. All AI is dependent on the data that is used to develop the models. And if there's bias in the data, there will be bias in the prediction. The third, as I said before, is the lack of explainability. Many times AI is a black box. But in our industry, we really need to have a clear understanding how this AI is working, what is the model made up of, and if there is traceability. The fourth one is overfitting. That means your AI is very good in the data set that you have used on, but when new data comes, it's not that good. For example, the one example I shared about using AI to identify the right subgroup. So that was based on the data that you have already used. But maybe then when you actually run the trial, you see that the subgroup that was identified did not promise the results that we thought it would. And then the fifth one is the automation and bias and blind trust. That means AI can drift over time. And we have seen that also, if you're using ChatGPT or Claude ChatGPT for the last 2 years, some of the answers that we got 2 years ago and what answers we get today to similar questions are different because there is a drift that's happening in the models as well. So these are basically the 5 biggest challenges that we have with AI. And we are already seeing that. So this paper came out again in Nature only in April, where they found out that dozens of AI disease prediction models were trained on dubious data. So we have to be extremely careful what kind of data was used to build the AI model. And even FDA's 𝗪𝗪 AI tool, which was rolled out, I think in 2024, 2025, people started complaining that it was not doing what it was supposed to do. So there are a lot of risks involved. It's still early days, and we have to be very careful when we are using any of the AI tools that are coming up. So how do we create the right governance for AI, right? So there are 6 things that we have to ensure when we are working on a robust AI governance. Number 1 is accuracy, robustness, privacy. So privacy is very important. We are in Europe. So how is the data that is used to run the models are private, fairness, transparency, and explainability. So these are, I think, the key principles. We already use many of them in our current data governance, data protection aspects, and I think this has to be also implemented in our AI tools. So governance and the promise I spoke about, but now how do we use it actually in our companies? So I don't know how many of you have heard of this publication that came out that MIT found that 95% of AI pilots failed because companies avoid friction. So companies deploy AI, but 95% of the times they are not successful. And why are they not successful? Mainly because of three reasons. One is human friction, second is organizational friction, and third, technical friction. By human friction, I mean, human beings are not ready to use them. There is resistance and lack of cultural acceptance, fear. What happens if I start using AI? Will my job be in danger? Organizational friction means we don't have the right policies in place. For example, all our SOPs, Ariana, I'm looking at you, our SOPs were written at a time when no AI was used. Correct? So there is no AI in any of our SOPs. Now if we are using AI, we have to rewrite our processes and include them and have the right steps, right? So all our processes and policies and guidances were created in pre-AI era. So that's the organizational friction. So it's not only implementing AI, but do we have the right processes? And finally, technical. Of course, if the data are not merging, if they're not harmonized, if the models are not working well, the hallucinations happening, then we have a problem. So this is the main reason why there is a problem with AI adoption, and what can we do to change this. So we have to, of course, build on the technology. I think technology and process are somewhat straightforward because you can improve and fix the technology, and you can update your processes to take into account. Then you have to also get the blessings of the regulatory. If you are using AI for a regulatory purpose, you have to have these conversations with the regulators early on so that they are acceptable. Of course, if you are using AI to just write a protocol or a draft or do site selection, then that's a separate matter. But if you're using AI to find the right subgroup of patients or to do patient monitoring, then you need to get the blessings of regulatory. But the last two, I think, are not spoken so much, but are very important if you have to adopt. One is you have to upgrade your talent to be able to use AI, right? Because most of us have done our education and our experience in our professional life so far is without using AI. Andrea said that he still insists his statisticians to not use AI. So we have to upgrade our talents so that they can effectively use AI.
Junior statisticians shouldn't use AI because we have to learn. But we are all our statisticians are using AI, of course, here. And it was just a matter of learning. According to me, AI is not good for learning sometimes.
Right.
And so we need to learn a lot.
And then the culture. So you have to change the culture, and you will see I have one slide on what do I mean by culture to be able to adopt AI. I will go a little quickly because I'm looking at the time. I don't have a lot of time. So I think AI adoption is not only technical, but it's also human. So we have to take into account the human aspect when we are using AI and just not focus on the technical part. So what do I mean by culture and how do we do it? I read a few papers actually on this, following this 95% not being successful, the MIT paper. So what does it need? The first is important is to have leadership buy-in. It has to come from the top, because if your senior leadership is not convinced of use of AI, then it's difficult to implement AI. Second, you have to have clear goals. I presented that matrix, if you remember. You have to understand, okay, what is the exact strategic need and what do I want to achieve with this? The third is partnership. So many of the small companies and even big companies we are not AI company. We are in drug development. So how do I build the right partnership with the right agency, with the right vendors? So what do I do in-house? What do I do? Just like CRO partnership, right? So we have sometimes a relationship with CROs, but we also have internal capabilities. So you have to have the right partnership. you have to develop talent, and then you have to have the right workflow so that AI can be embedded. It's not just superficial, but AI is embedded in the entire decision-making process. And then this is my last slide. So if you can all of them, so we see that AI can be play a very important role going forward in making better predictions, smarter personalization, and much faster and safer execution. So I think I've come to the last slide at the right time. Any questions or any comments?
Hey, 𝗙𝗵𝘂𝗶, thanks
Hey,
a lot
Ching.
for your nice presentation. Yeah, I have maybe a question or comment. Maybe you can share your thoughts. Is, with the AI tool right now, it's kind of, right now our skill set, our boundaries, disappear a little bit. The learning curve now is a little bit earlier. I can do lots of things like traditionally, it's like medical affairs people doing, competitive landscape people is doing, project management team is doing, with the AI tool, I can do lots of this, But on the other side, lots of statisticians programming work. Now, some people, they have the stats train one. They also want to do some data analysis, right? But sometimes when they generate some data, doing some data analysis, from stats perspective, it's not 100% accurate, right? There are lots of caveats there. How do you, comment this environment, and how can we make sure, stats, we still take the leadership of, data analysis, make sure the data interpretation is correct. This is my question.
So if I understand your question correctly, Ching, you are asking that, we are becoming more and more dependent on AI and AI tools without really understanding the fundamentals.
Yes,
right?
like other functions, they
like,
are also doing data analysis.
Exactly. Yeah. And no, I think you might have missed, Andrea was here, and he's saying that, Andrea is from Valus, and he's saying that in his company, they are saying that the junior statisticians cannot use AI. They have to use statistics in the traditional way to make their concepts and the foundation strong before they can use AI. So no, this is a very interesting question, and I don't think I have an answer. I think because it's very tempting to just go into AI and do the data analysis without really understanding what it means. But I think one of the skills that would be really needed in the future is the skill set of judgment. What should I trust and what should I not trust? What should I accept and what should I not accept? How do I ask the right questions? And
this
that
is very important. Yeah.
Yes, and that's why I was saying I have some stuff. I will do a next webinar on what skill set do we need in this time of AI, because I think that is also important. Not only the technical part, but how do I actually make myself relevant in this current environment?
Yeah, I spent 4 months with somebody doing a postdoctorate in AI, were writing prompts to compare SOPs against guidelines. Okay. Okay. And at the end, it's what you said. We did run it 10 times, and we had at the same time in the same tool, and we had 10 different answers. And for this, we had to limit the prompt to 1 paragraph in each document. Yeah, and then you are thinking it's probably not the right approach. So we will be trained indeed in the department to write question, to write the prompt, and
yes.
as you were saying, really, because it's critical. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so people are dropping off. Thanks a lot for joining.
Thank you, 𝗙𝗵𝘂𝗶.
Hopefully it was useful.
Yeah, and, interesting. Yeah.
It was
really good.
Thank you.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. See you again soon. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.